Hi everybody, this is Dawn with Painted Willow Art. I wanted to hop on real quick and make a video for my IGTV to tell you a couple things and show you a couple things. And I am doing it spur of the moment, so you get not fancy hair and you get paint on my shirt. There's always paint on my shirt, so I didn't figure I should change and make it any different than normal. What I wanted to talk about is ways to use art to help manage stress and anxiety. I don't know how many of you know, but I have taught classes on that here locally in the Boise area for about 6 months. And I love teaching it because they're techniques that I use and have used for years and years and years, and I like sharing them with people. I had always thought about going online with them, but just hadn't got it done yet. And um, as often happens, situations push you to do something. So I have been doing the classes online for about a week and a half now. And it's interesting because the classes have gone really well, but I hear the same thing from people who are looking at perhaps taking it online as I do the people live here in town. And that is, it sounds like a great concept, but I can't draw, so never mind. And um, it doesn't seem to make any difference no matter how I try to explain that the techniques I teach are abstract in nature, which means they're not supposed to look like anything anyway. So you don't have to know how to draw to do this. Um, we're not drawing museum quality art. We're drawing for the purpose of managing stress and anxiety. And it's a whole different thing. It's not art that's meant to be shown anywhere. It's art that's meant to process and change the way we're thinking, change the way we're feeling. So I wanted to hop on and show you a couple of quick techniques. I'm actually going to do one today and I will do one tomorrow. Today's Thursday. I'll do one Friday. And yes, I know I just scratched my nose, but I washed my hands before I came in, so it's all good. But I actually wanted to show you a technique and give you something that you can actually practice at home to kind of illustrate how little drawing skill is actually required to do this. These two techniques today and tomorrow are very simple, and my hope is that by showing these to you that it will, one, um, put aside fears of having to know how to draw, to use this technique to help, that it will, if you try it, illustrate how well it works to help manage anxiety and stress and relax you and calm the body and all of that stuff. And three, might make you a little more willing to look at a class in the future when the time is right, because there's a whole lot more that we can do. These are just some really quick off the cuff get you started techniques, but there's a whole lot more involved when you start looking at putting intentionality with it and things like that. So I'm hoping that maybe at some point in the future this might be something that, after seeing how really easy the techniques themselves are, that you might want to pursue that. And also right now, there's a lot of stress and anxiety going on, so I wanted to give you something that would help with that. And it works for not only adults, but you can do this with your kids too. So it's an across the board, really cool thing. So I'm going to turn my camera down so that we are looking, hopefully, at my table. Um, the one I'm going to show you today has kind of two different options to it. So I've divided my paper in half. I'm going to do one on each side. And essentially what it's going to look like is something like this. It's nothing more than lines and a little bit of filling in on the corners that I'll show you how to do. When you're done, you can then color it however you choose. The reason this type of technique works is because, oh, camera moved. I'm a little I'm a little video impaired. I'm still trying to get the hang of this. The reason this technique works is because you're not just telling yourself, um, brain, don't think about this. You're actually giving your body something to do. And by giving your body something to do, you're asking your brain to focus on this as well. You're telling your brain, draw this line, draw this line, draw this line, color here, color here, color here. And by by doing that, you're essentially sidetracking your brain from the normal worry track that it's on. So what we're going to do, like I said, there's two different options to this. The first one is the easiest, and that is to just draw straight lines all over your paper. It doesn't matter where they go, what direction, whether they go up, down, side to side, diagonal. You're just going to keep drawing lines. When do you stop drawing lines? Whenever you feel like it. There's no right or wrong answer to this. There's no model that it's supposed to look like. You're just doing straight lines all over the paper. Once you feel like you've got enough lines, then we're going to round the corners on it. And this part, for some reason, whether it's the mundaneness of the activity, I'm not sure, but it works really well to just calm everything down. And everybody I've taught this to says the exact same thing. When they get to this part of rounding corners, it just, the whole body just kind of goes, So what does rounding corners mean? I'm going to show you with a fairly open corner right here. Essentially, we're going to take this corner and kind of draw a little quarter circle on each side of this corner, and then we're going to color it in. So what we've basically done is just think of it, instead of a hard 90-degree angle, if you brought your pen down, it would just curve around nicely. And we're going to do that same thing on every corner. And as you continue to do that, you give everything in your body a chance to relax. If your brain starts to wander, bring it back by saying, look for the next corner, look for the next corner, look for the next corner. If your rounding isn't exactly, a perfect quarter circle, I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but some of mine are a little bit jagged. A little bit jagged is fine. We're just kind of trying to take the pokey parts off those corners. And by doing that, we're occupying body and mind with something that really doesn't require any brain power. And by doing that, we kind of get it out of a loop of worry thinking, or panic thinking, or what am I going to do thinking. So we're just going to go through the whole drawing and round all the corners, everywhere there's an intersection. Now, if you end up with spots like this guy right here, where there's so much going on all at one place, just start rounding the outside corners. And that little inside part just kind of takes care of itself. You just color it in and it goes away. Once you've got the rounding of the corners done, then you go back and you color it in with whatever method of coloring you have. If you have colored pencils, great. Crayons, great. Markers, paints, whatever you want to use to color it in. The act of coloring just kind of continues the repetitive action that we're doing on this drawing and keeps your mind out of habitual loop thinking. The other option to this method is to not use straight lines. The other option is to draw wavy lines all over your paper. And again, we're not going for any kind of pattern. We're just drawing wavy lines all over the place. And what I often tell people, if you're trying to decide which of these methods to use, whether it's wavy or straight, if you tend to be a person who thinks very linearly, when you're going to make a decision, you sit down and make your list of pros and cons, and you're looking at all the facts, and very logical type of thinker. If you're that person, do the curvy lines, because that takes your brain even more out of its habit pattern. If you are habitually logical, then do something with the curved lines, because that really gets your brain out of its standard mode of operation. If you're somebody who tends to be a little less linear, maybe kind of fly by the seat of your pants, come what may, we'll take what comes kind of thing, you sit down and do it with the straight lines, because it does the exact same thing. Your brain is not used to being so strict and straight and restricted, and it does the same thing. It helps bring it out of its habitual pattern, which just makes the benefits of this process even better. So once you've got all your curvy lines, we're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go in and start rounding all those corners. And I find it's easiest if you start at one side and work your way across, but you can do it in whatever order makes you happy. Just try to get as many of the corners as possible. That's the piece of the activity that helps sidetrack your brain the most. And if you notice that your mind starts to wander while you're doing this, just bring it back by telling it, look for a corner, look for a corner, look for a corner. Go to the next corner, continue rounding. And then when you get done with that one, you can color it as well. So I'm going to bring back my original one here for a second, just to kind of show you. I started over here with just the lines, and this one I did a mix of straight lines and curved lines. You could certainly do that as well. And then I went on to rounding the corners. So once I got all the corners rounded, it looks like this area here. And then once I got done with that, then I went and colored it in. And there was really no rhyme or reason to the colors I used. They were just colors that grabbed my eye at the time. You could do it like a kaleidoscope where each little segment is its own color, or you could do something more like this where big groups of segments are the same color. It's completely up to you. Push this back up again, hopefully. So that's technique number one. It seems ridiculously simple, and it is in terms of execution, in that if you can draw a line, you can do this. So I would really encourage you, if you think you might be interested in learning how to use some kind of art for a therapeutic purpose, try this at home. Give yourself 20 minutes to sit down, turn some soothing music on in the background. If you've got the TV on, turn the TV off. Especially if you've got the news on, turn that off while you do this. Get yourself something nice to drink, a little snack if you want. Sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and something to color with. It doesn't take any specific supplies. If all you have is printer paper, a ballpoint pen, and crayons, you're good to go. You don't have to go out and buy expensive supplies to do this. So I would really love for people to try this and then to hear what you think of it. Feel free to DM me if you try it. Let me know what you think. I am going to do another video tomorrow with a slightly different technique. It's real similar in terms of how we're going to draw it, but it's a little bit different, so that you've got some options if you want to do this. And I am holding some Pay What You Can classes, on a little more involved technique. And when I say involved, it's not more involved in terms of the drawing components. It's just more involved in how we approach it in terms of setting intentions and, kind of walking through step by step an entire process so you can notice a shift. If you're interested in that, I do have one going on tomorrow night. They're done live over Zoom. Tomorrow, I don't know when you're watching this, but tomorrow for me is Friday, April 10th. There's a link in my bio that will take you to a spot where you can reserve a seat in the class. I also have another one on Saturday the 18th, and I'm working on putting a few more on the schedule. So if you're interested, after you try this, in continuing on to see, what else this might have to offer you, I would love to have you join us on Zoom for that. And like I said, if you give it a shot, I would love to hear how it works for you, what you notice. Oftentimes, the first time people do this, what they notice right off the top is that they breathe easier. I think a lot of times we don't notice how kind of restricted we are in our breathing, or how shallow our breathing is, particularly when we're stressed about something or worried about something. And that's usually the first thing people notice in doing this. And if you're noticing that you're breathing easier, other things in your body are relaxing as well. And that's a good thing always. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. And if you want to go further with it, keep an eye on my feed and the links in my bio for some more upcoming Pay What You Can classes on this. And when I say pay what you can, I literally mean that if you can't pay, you still get to take the class. So my whole goal is to share some things with people that can provide some real relief, and I really think this can. So I would love to hear what you think after you try it. Thanks. I'll see you tomorrow.